Hello, welcome to my channel for Evolved Humans. I am Ms. Day. So this is a pretty clear message right away. It feels like if I were just doing a reading, I would have thought that the message that I got from this is that someone needs to end. Someone needs to put to rest an old belief system that's limiting their mind. It's like something is limiting you and it's not aligning in a way that's taking you forward. And I also feel like it's important to say that the low frequency only feeds itself. The low frequency, like what you would call a narcissist, or like narcissistic tendencies, or like addictions that suck, like behavioral lifestyle choices that are harmful to yourself or others. Like those things are low frequency activities. And when there's a low frequency activity and you're a fair person or you're just like a just person underneath, it can suck you in to its need to feed. It's like it can kind of suck you down into a null space if you let it. And so it's interesting. This reading it's like they want you to forge ahead with full awareness. And one of the biggest things I felt when I sat down for this reading was that someone needs to stop trying to calm your alarms. I feel like alarms sounding is for a really important reason. And I think that a lot of people try to silence those alarms and they think that's a way of gaining self-control. But the alarms sounding is because of either something internal or external that's causing your physiological alarms to sound. So this reading is to tell you that especially if you're trying to open up and expand your own ability to just kind of experience all of the information out here, if you want it to move freely internally, then what you have to do, this feels like you need to become fully, it needs to be a daily priority to be aware of what's going on internally. I think that this reading, as soon as I laid it down, I felt like there was just this really passionate sort of force. And even though that's great and that works in your favor when you use it in your favor or for good, it can also be such a strong force that it stops you from getting onto a new track should a new track become available. So this is where I think that someone in here, I think that it feels like this message is telling you that if you want to attain balance, if you want to be mentally balanced, whoever this reading is for, this is going to feel like it's for you. I feel like what this is really loudly saying is if you want to achieve the balance that you know you want in your everyday life, instead of what it has been up to this point, like for all of this time and all of these years even, trying to achieve mental health and stability. I think that this message is saying you need to just accept that there's nothing wrong with you for needing to prioritize your mental health daily. This feels pretty clear cut, where it's like you need to release this past idea that you aren't standing on your own if you are emotional. Whoa, I thought about that yesterday. Like I just got this whoosh of just that sort of super old school thing. That old school like American thing that, men don't show emotion thing. Like, obviously it goes whatever. Anyway, I got this big feeling that someone needs to break themselves free of that and recognize that actually you just need to process your emotions. Experiencing and processing and being aware of your emotions every day, that is not becoming wishy-washy or it's not becoming overly emotional. It actually is just sort of, it's like maintenance. It's literally maintenance to make sure that you are able to operate in control. So like you can expect your operating systems to function in a certain way instead of like becoming too susceptible to an emotional like reaction or something. This feels like what the message is trying to get across to you is that being aware of your own internal stuff daily is your control over it. That is how you control it. I can attest to that because this was actually one of the things that I had to really recognize and accept emotionally. I had to take this as an emotional lesson from a parent, like as an authority figure. I needed someone else to be a stronger authority than I am, or than I was being for my own human. I was like, I'm obviously not taking the control. I need to control this. And I like just kind of borrowed their sense of authority and practiced it until I could gain control of it. And that means that I had to accept that I was never going to like I've overcome several eating disorder branches, but like the main one was literally throwing up food. And the reason I'm talking about that is because the reason I have a grip on that is because no longer do I have to think about it, even though I do, not for negative reasons, but for positive ones now. And just kind of mind-blowing ones where I'm like, oh my, holy crap, I can't believe I did that. But like when I was really getting a grip on it, when I was getting a grip on the physical behavior, I had to emotionally accept a new truth. Because in the world of psychology, it is believed, it's like agreed amongst them that, who knows, that 3 positives can offset a negative, like in an experience type of way. So if you have a relationship with your own internal self, then you have a physical and an emotional and a behavioral sort of interaction at all times with it. But if you don't interact with it, then it doesn't mean that's stronger if you're not looking at that internal information. It means you're more susceptible for something happening out here that's going to trigger something in here because you don't already have the reins. It's not maintained to where you can say, whoa, slow down, or oh, that's a lot to handle. We're going to breathe through it before we respond. So this is like telling you, okay, so that's what I was trying to say. It was kind of a long story, but I had to accept that I was going to have to be accountable every single day to myself. I wasn't able to just rely on someone else stopping my human. I had to fight with everything I had to prioritize my own internal information and how I handled it every single day until that habit was in my hands. So like if you're trying to overcome something, or if you've been struggling for a long time, I'm not saying look at it in a harsh way or look down on yourself on a daily basis for what you struggle with. This is more so like when your alarms sound, practice listening to them and practice different ways that you can calm them down. Ask yourself, what is it that I am in need of, instead of running away from what's happening or just trying to distract yourself from it. Because this sort of feels like a detachment internally, and the message is very much like put that away, leave that behind, and make your own information important. That's how you keep it in control. That's how you control it, instead of being sort of at its whim. This is where you have to decide, like, to accept your own information before anyone else can do, like, no one else can do that for you. No one. So when it comes to changing a behavior, that's not, when your alarms sound because you're changing something, I feel like what they're saying is the alarms are a part of you. That's not going to go away. What you do when those alarms sound, that's how you take a step ahead into elevation instead of stagnation. Like, just taming those reactions can actually hold you back from the next step in growth that you've obviously like worked to stabilize some things. And I feel like they're trying to sort of give you like an empowered view of yourself. And in doing so, you have to put to rest this idea that you can't handle big emotions. Way back, there was a preacher. I've said this before, but this is very specific. I heard some preacher say at some point, it's not what if, when you're really trusting the high frequency. They were talking about God, but I think it's the same, high frequency. When you're really trusting truth and good and a positive outcome, you have to trust that anything that comes up along the way is not allowed to deter you away from that outcome. When you deserve an outcome, you deserve an outcome. But you still have to move to it. And that movement is what they're trying to tell you. Like, it doesn't get, I keep hearing in my head, it doesn't get easier, but it gets more in your control. But in order to really have control, you have to be accountable for it. You have to be accountable for any reaction that's going to come up. That's where it's only between you and your human. It's like, okay, this whole reading is basically telling you you have to align what you want with your human experience. Like, as you are experiencing your own reactions and alarms, you have to realize that you have to be aligned with that vehicle. When your alarms are sounding, you have to already know why you feel emotional. You already have to know what stressors you were already experiencing from this week, so that you know, okay, I'm ultra triggered. Maybe that's hitting me deeper than it needs to because I have this going on already. It isn't about making sure that other people are aware of your emotions. It's just about you being accountable for them. Because if not you, no one is. No one can force you to process emotions. No one. So I feel like the big message of this is awareness of your emotions is actually you controlling them. That's it. That's enough. If you are willing to be aware of them, then you're accountable for your own stuff. And obviously that doesn't mean that's the end game. Like, that's not saying what you do with what you're aware of. But in this case, I think that when you decide to practice just kind of reflecting daily about like what it is that's stressing you out, what you're going through, even physiologically, as you change out of an old mindset, that's going to make you have to redirect your focus on new thoughts throughout your day. And that can be as simple as literally just setting an intention in the front of your mind when you're not used to doing that. Like, just try it one time, one teeny tiny little blip in your life where you're like, I'm just going to set an intention in the front of my brain and just like agree on a sentence with you and your human that you're going to make something happen by the end of the week, by the end of the day, even if you don't know how, even if you have no idea how it's going to happen. Decide that something is possible because you are capable of doing it. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this was helpful. It was kind of a quick one. Let me know in the comments if this resonates with you, and I will see you in the next reading.